I am going to give the edge to Santa Clara. So hot take.
Okay, there it
Hot take.
is.
I got Alzina. I got Alzina making a run. I actually have Alzina beating Pepperdine as well, right in the final.
Whoa! Welcome back to Coaches on the Beach. And as always, I got Colin laughing, and we got a very special announcement of the Sun Belt regular season champion, the Chanticleers from Coastal Carolina. I don't know why I'm doing this voice.
Yep. We got it. Took it home. Brought it home. I
Nice!
guess first non Georgia State Sun Belt championship ever. So it's always exciting to do things for the first time,
How's it
and
feel?
pretty
Give the people some stuff.
feels good. I mean, it was a tough match. Obviously, Georgia State's pretty darn good. That's why they're ranked at the time they were ranked 15th in the country. We had a nice match against JU in the morning. They didn't play, and so I was a little nervous, like them coming out fresh. Already had a scout on us on the weekend, and we went up 2-0 in the 4-5, which is obviously it feels much better to be up 2-0 than down 2-0. And and then actually had a really tough matches in the 1-2, and our threes were battling, and actually we're up 14-11 on the switch in the third set, and I was like, all right. And then I watched them lose 1 point, and then I watched them lose another point, and I was like, okay, I don't like this anymore. And then they had a long rally, and I think that pair does especially well in long rallies, and they took an aggressive hack, like which you love to see as well, and won us the championship. And the best part is the girls had no idea. They were just sitting there like, oh, what's going on? Why is Colin so excited? I don't know. We just won the championship. We just beat the number 15 team in the country. I got a couple of reasons to be excited, I feel like, but they were just happy to be there. So
That's
that
awesome.
was fun.
Congratulations. And you got your second win over South Carolina in a year.
Yeah. They still seem to get more votes than us in the poll, but and Moritz, obviously, I he usually listens to our episodes, so I'll let him know. Hey, enjoy that while it lasts, buddy. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you. Uh, but no, it's always good to beat in-state teams, and we're undefeated against teams from South Carolina for over a year now, which is really that's a cool spot to be in. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like being the team that owns the state. So our girls did an incredible job, right? They all battled. I think it was a ton of good volleyball all weekend from all the squads, and I'm fortunate that our group came out 3-1. Nobody had a perfect weekend. It's all 3-1s, and then I think everybody got JU as their win, and so should prep us pretty well to go in the conference tournament. Florida Gulf looks nasty. Michael, I'm sorry. You should prepare yourself wholeheartedly for them. JU played close games with literally everybody, so there's gonna be some good volley in the ASUN as well. But yeah, it was a fun weekend for us.
That's awesome. That's got to feel good going into conference tournament, and that's kind of what we're here to talk about is some conference tournament stuff. I think we're going to switch up our episode. Colin had a great suggestion to go through the conference tournaments. We are going to leave out the ASUN and the Sun Belt.
It's too easy. It's no fun to predict, right? Coastal and Austin P to the finals. Like that's just it's not an exciting thing. So
Yeah, we wanted to kind of keep the hope alive for some of these other teams that are going to be playing in it. So we'll let them dream, and then we'll have our own. But we will go through the other conferences and walk it through. But before we start, I do want to show off the Sun Belt bracket. And so you can see that now on your screen if you're looking at it. Number one, with the bye, Coastal Carolina. Got it
yep.
done. That's a big victory for you guys. Congratulations. Super happy for you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
But getting right into it, we'll go straight to the Southland Conference here. They're starting play today as this episode's coming out on Wednesday. We're releasing a day early so we can kind of include this first round matchups. Who you got in that 8-9 matchup? The UNO versus Nichols matchup to get into that play against Boise State.
Yeah. Both teams have had a rough go of it this year, and obviously Nichols hasn't won a conference match, so I would lean towards New Orleans and a little bit more savviness, but Nichols is going to be a fun team. They're not going to play volleyball the traditional way, so
Yeah,
you never know how that shakes out. I do think that's, like you said, a battle to play Boise State. It's probably not a short-lived victory, or
yeah,
it's a short-lived victory, not a long-lived one.
yeah.
Moving on down, right? Corpus taking on McNeese in the first round. I think we're both going to have Corpus there. San Jose versus Southeastern Louisiana, right? The part of me kind of wants the old squad to get it done, but I think Gary Hodge has got that San Jose Spartan squad rolling, and they played a really tough schedule this year. I think they're ready for tourney time. On to the four, I think SFA versus Houston Christian is going to be a fun one. That's what you
Yeah.
want out of a 4-5. I'm going to give the slight edge to HCU. They're young
Okay.
and they're wily, and I think they've got a little bit of like, they're just an up and down team, which is kind of how I feel Coastal's been for most of the year. Like, we're going to win some games, maybe we shouldn't. We might also lose some games we shouldn't, right? And that's kind of part of it. I think HCU is doing the same thing. I do think there's a piece of that when you get to tourney time that like that's going to play in your
Yeah.
favor. Um, Boise State moving on, right? Obviously, winter matchups. We're
Hmm.
going to have in our prediction Corpus versus San Jose. Corpus looks really strong still this year. I think they're
Yeah.
probably getting the best of San Jose. And then you'll have the winner of the SFA HCU match taking on the Boise or the winner of New Orleans Nichols. We're going to
We're
assume it's
gonna say
Boise.
Boise.
So,
We're gonna
yeah,
throw it out there.
we're going to throw it out there. We're going to go Boise. And we're going to go so Boise versus HCU to wrap up the day if my prediction holds true. And Corpus versus San Jose. I'd expect Boise and Corpus Christi to walk out of that unscathed, but that doesn't mean that'll last the entirety of the tournament. As we go into the losers bracket, right, I expect Southeastern to hold on a little bit. SFA probably has the best shot of working their way through the losers bracket to face Houston Christian again
Yeah.
in a chance for the crossover match. I probably give it to HCU. The question will be who wins the semi. If we've got Corpus and Boise seeing each other in the semifinals, who takes home the first matchup of potentially two of the weekend?
Yeah. I'll chime in here. I think I have Boise winning this tournament, so I think they're gonna drop this one. I think
Boise
I think
drops the semi.
I think Corpus gets this one, and then Boise gets the next.
As they say, it's hard to beat a good team three times, and so obviously for Boise to win the championship, they'd have to beat Corpus at least twice. And so if that prediction holds true, I do think Corpus will win the semifinal. However, I also have Corpus winning the finals.
Yeah.
That's not that I don't have faith in the Alexes and Allison over there, but I do think that Corpus squad, just as I mentioned before, right? They're at not home, but they're at least in a similar time zone. Boise's flying in. They got a lot of travel. They're going to have a couple matches under their belt. I'm giving it to Corpus in the final, but I do think that you'll have the HCU versus Corpus match. I think will also be pretty good, or
Hmm.
versus Boise match, I should say, will also be pretty good as HCU starts to pick up some steam rolling through that tournament.
Yeah. I think HCU does have a chance to make a pretty deep run into this tournament. I mean, Cam always gets his girls rolling this time of year, and they always seem to have that grit about them that they don't really care about everything else that's going on, and that's part of the championship experience is experiencing all the fans and all the extra emotions that are going on, the chance that your season is completely over. I think they'll be ready and they'll make a deep run into this.
Yep. And if you're interested in keeping up with the Southland tournament, right, they have live stats available on the southland.org website. So if you go to the Beach Volleyball Championship, you can catch live stats, live scoring, and results. It says ESPN Plus will begin on Thursday. It's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday tournament, as
Hmm.
Michael mentioned at the start. So they say they'll have ESPN Plus Thursday and Friday. I will say they had that same thing listed last year, and we were unable to watch them. So I'm not sure exactly how it's going to play out, but at the very least, there'll be live stats going on, and so you can keep up with how that Southland tournament shakes out if there are any big upsets.
Do you know of any weather that's going to be passing through New Orleans this?
It looks lovely in
There you go.
Foley, and so as long as everything a few hours west of there stays lovely as well, I think it'll be okay for them.
There you
Uh,
go.
but I'm locked in on our on our weather.
Yeah, I haven't done all that much research into these brackets. I'm picking names.
Picking names. I like it. Michael's doing the quick draw. I'm doing the old deliberate. We're moving on to the Big 12, right? The newly
Yes.
established
Big
Big
12
12
is
conference.
next.
So we got those are, TCU's your one seed, Arizona State your two, Arizona your three, and Utah your four. Just a four team double limb tournament. think we're both going to agree TCU and Arizona State are going to see each other in the first semifinal. The question would be is between Arizona and Utah. If we assume they lose, who wins that match?
Utah's been having a really good year, and they did receive some votes early on. So I'm pulling for Utah on this one. I don't know how it's going to play out. I haven't seen either of the teams play this season, but I'm pulling for Utah to kind of continue this success that they've been having, and really create a good standing around this season that they've had.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, Utah has been getting hot. They played Arizona up in, I want to say it was Boise
I
a
think
couple
I do
weekends
remember
ago,
that.
and or
Yeah.
no, it was at Utah. It was at home. It was in Salt
Okay.
Lake City. And they played at Arizona as well. So they've played twice in the last couple weeks. Arizona got the 3-2 of them the first time in Salt Lake City, and then Arizona won 4-1 last weekend in Tucson. So I think there's definitely, or not last weekend, it was a couple weekends ago. You get the gist.
Yeah.
Either way, Arizona's got two. I think there's something to be said about hard to beat a good team three times. I'm going to say Arizona does it and plays Arizona State in the losers bracket semifinal, but I'm going to give TCU the 1, 2, 3 championship
There
to
you
walk
go.
out of the Big 12. Any disagreement there? You think your Sun Devils of Arizona State are going to pull it off?
It's being hosted at TCU. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is the end of the ride for Arizona State, but I think they still have a shot to get one of the at-large bids to get into the tournament. I think their name's still in that conversation, and who knows if they do pull off TCU? I think that firmly puts them into the tournament, even though this is one of the tournaments that just does not get an auto bid.
Yeah. Yeah, yet, right? I think they
Yes.
will apply for a waiver next year. I think they're adding a couple schools, and they'll get an opportunity for a bid there. Moving on to the MPSF, arguably the giant tournament, the Clash of the Titans, Week 10. It's another tournament that's starting on Wednesday, the 23rd, down there in Huntington Beach, Southern California. And so it should be a fun and exciting one. There's going to be a ton of top 10 volleyball being played. We start off with USC playing the University of Washington.
Hmm.
Are we really going to bet against the Trojans? Are we
No,
really,
not this
really going
time
to
of
bet
year.
against the
Not this time of
Trojans
year.
this time of year? Grand Canyon Cal, I think huge match for Grand Canyon, right? Would be a big statement in the at-large bid conversation for
Yeah.
them. I think it's a decent statement for Cal as well. However, they've played each other pretty recently, and
Hmm.
and I think Cal looks really strong in that matchup. And then we're going to have Stanford playing Oregon. That'll be your 3 versus 6 matchup. I think we're going to lean towards the old Stanford Cardinal taking.
I'm
Oh
not
no, that must be
disagreeing with you
two.
yet.
It must be 2-7 because Southern Cal's 3-6, and then Cal Grand Canyon's 4-5.
Yeah.
The Cal Grand Canyon match will lead somebody into a Thursday morning duel versus the University of California at Los Angeles. The hottest team in the books right now. I think
Hmm.
they probably have a good shot at it. It's going to be hard for me to take that one out.
I
I
think that's
do
a pretty
think,
big advantage too to not have to play on that Wednesday and get
yeah,
a whole extra day of rest because even that one game scenario that does take a lot on the body to warm up, get that game in with a lot of emotion, come down from that and then get warmed back up.
yeah, very true. I mean, the less volleyball you can play at this time of year, the better.
Hmm.
Right? Everybody's a little banged up, a little tired, and so as much as you can save, it'll work. It puts our match two. We'll have theoretically Southern Cal versus Stanford as the winners bracket match on Thursday. I mean, could be could be either of them. Who do you give the edge to?
I'm taking USC in this one.
You're
I
taking
think
USC to win that one?
yeah, I think this is kind of the area that USC's been good the past couple
Hmm.
years is in this first two rounds. It's that third, fourth championship game that they've kind of shown some sort of weakness. So I think this year's with this tournament, how they're seeding it in the seven places versus the what they had 10 teams last year in the
Something
Pac-12.
like that. They always have a big
Yeah,
grouping.
but this I think this tournament kind of plays towards USC's strengths of those 1-2 matches a day and really getting in and out.
Yeah, I think it'll help USC. Obviously, playing that Stanford is not going to be any slouch. They're going to come
Hmm.
up against a Washington or a Grand Canyon in the next losers bracket match. I think they handle that business. Although Stanford has shown a propensity to losing early in the
Yes.
Pac-12 and BSF tournament, and so you never know. But I assume they're learning from their mistakes, going out there and taking care of business. I anticipate UCLA getting a free run to the championship match. I anticipate Southern Cal playing Stanford in that losers bracket finals.
Yep.
And then I have you and I are slightly different, right?
I have
You have
SC winning
USC
it.
winning it all, and I have UCLA winning it all. But all in all, I don't think Stanford's out of it necessarily. I don't think Cal's out of it necessarily, but I do think we're going to have to keep giving the until somebody proves us wrong, right? Until TC or UCLA or USC loses a match in the conference tournament and actually gets eliminated, it's going to be hard for me to bet against them in just about any tournament they play.
I'm running the reverse psychology of it because UCLA's won the Pac-12 the past couple years, and then USC wins the national championship. If it's going to be one of those two that's going to win the national championship, I want it to be UCLA. So I'm
Hmm.
going to give USC the MPSF and then see if UCLA can take the national.
Yeah. I will say most work to do is Grand Canyon, right? They're on the outside looking in. They've
Yep.
got a lot to play for here. I think they have an opportunity in that first round match. They're going to get a bye in the losers bracket game, right? Because theoretically, if Washington and Oregon and Grand Canyon are the losers, only Washington and Oregon are going to play, right? And then that the loser will get eliminated on that first day. And the
Okay. Yeah, I
next
haven't
day,
seen
it
it.
winds up being Grand Canyon versus the winner of that match. So theoretically, Grand Canyon, Washington. It's a good win for that opportunity. And then they would play either the loser of UCLA versus Cal, right? So that Cal opportunity versus Washington in that game, or Grand Canyon, I should say, versus Cal, gives them a huge chance to make a run and give themselves a real fighting shot at it. So
And
keep your
some
eye out for Cal and Grand Canyon.
something that we're seeing here is that all matches are going to be streamed live on the Big Ten Plus network, as well as the final day. It looks like it's going to be on the actual Big Ten network, with the games still being streamed on Big Ten Plus. So if you got a membership or you know somebody that has a membership, get that password and get in there and watch that game. Those games, those are going to be good. And I think, like you were saying, I think GCU is a dangerous team right now because they have something to really, really fight for.
For sure, for sure. Moving on to WCC,
Mm-hmm.
one of the crazier. I think the WCC and the Big West to me are the two craziest conferences in the country. They play a full-scale double limb tournament in 2 days,
That's crazy.
which is just a gnarly amount of volleyball. I think there won't be a ton of big shocks here. I think Santa Clara looks good, so that's the 4-5, right? Santa Clara, San Francisco. I think Santa Clara gets a good run. I think St. Mary's beats Portland. I think Pepperdine handles Pacific. Now, Santa Clara versus LMU, still going to go LMU, but then it puts Santa Clara right back into the losers bracket. Whereas that Pepperdine St. Mary's match is going to be pretty tight, right? I
Yeah.
think this is going to be an interesting one. I'm going to give the edge to Pepperdine, but I would also be curious. St. Mary's has had a pair or two that have been a little bit stronger than the others for most of the season. Conference tournament time is the time when people tend to challenge things along those lines in order of ability. So I would be curious to see what St. Mary's lineup is going into the event to decide how close I think St. Mary's versus Pepperdine might actually be. With that being said, when it comes down to it, and we see what imagine will be Santa Clara versus St. Mary's in the losers bracket. Um, I am going to give the edge to Santa Clara. So
Okay, there it
hot take.
is.
I got Alzina making a run. I actually have Alzina beating Pepperdine as well, right? Because
Whoa.
listen, Jeff Marcio is obviously a silver medalist coach and a phenomenal coach at that.
Yeah.
I think Pepperdine has the talent, but they're so young,
Yeah.
right? Like everybody in that lineup has barely played in these situations, right? And if I know one thing about Alzina, right, he's going to push his team to be unbelievably tough, but they do perform when tournaments come around, right? He's been coaching this game a long time. So I'm going to give I'm going to say Santa Clara gets the shot at LMU for the championship and loses, right? Because I have
Yeah.
no doubt in my mind that LMU is going to win this thing. But nonetheless, I'm going to give Santa Clara a quick run.
That's still
And
memories in the making right there. I don't know what made me want to ask you, but when we flipped to this, I was like, who's going to be your team that upsets somebody else? And you gave it to us without even asking.
yeah, you don't need to ask. I do listen. It's a tough task. It's a tough task, but I do think that Santa Clara squad, of all the years, of all the teams to have a chance, I think they've got the best go of it this year. So, um, we'll give them the run, and if they prove me right, awesome. If they prove me wrong, that's the point of picking upsets, right? That's the fun part.
There we go.
Moving to the second craziest tournament, right? The Big West, another two-dayer. They have an interesting
Man.
format though, right? They start with pools. So you got Pool A, including CSUN, UC Davis, Cal Poly, and then or that's it, right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
those three teams. And then Pool B is going to have Long Beach, Hawaii, and Bakersfield,
Yeah.
and Sacramento State. One will have four, one will have three, and so
Yeah.
in those pools, right? I would venture a guess and say Cal Poly probably wins Pool A, and I would venture a guess and say Long Beach probably wins Pool B. Now, how the rest of that shakes out, does CSUN, they're finishing a hot year. They've tied for program most wins. I think they've had a great season thus far. Do they beat the young, kind of frazzled UC Davis squad? I'd probably give that to the edge to CSUN there. Does Bakersfield pull off an upset during their side against Hawaii? I think once again, probably unlikely, right? But of all the upsets that happen, Bakersfield's got a new lineup rolling around, right? I think there's an opportunity in there for them to win a few more matches.
I also think this is the one tournament that travel really becomes a factor
Hmm,
because Hawaii has to travel over to the West Coast. And I think that could kind of play into it. I don't know when they were traveling. I believe it would have been either today.
Probably was today. Yeah.
But so maybe they are good with the travel. They've been doing it every other weekend this entire season. But Bakersfield has been playing really, really well this season.
Yeah.
So
And it's the first thing in the morning match, right? That's the other kicker, right? It's a
yeah,
10:45 match between Hawaii and Bakersfield in Santa Monica. I think that what does that put itself at 8:45 or 7:45 a.m. Hawaii time? It's not the end of the world, but it's not nothing, right?
yeah,
It's not
that's
you can't
pretty
shake your
dang
stick at it.
early.
Still pretty early, right? Because when you consider, okay, 7:45 match, right? That means we're getting to the courts an hour before that, 6:45. It means we're eating an hour before that. That's 5:45. Um, traffic in Santa Monica, I doubt you're staying on the cliff. That'd be kind of a sick spot to stay for a hotel. But anyway, I don't think it's going to be a tournament full of craziness until we hit bracket play, right? I mean,
Yeah,
bracket plays where we'd anticipate seeing the craziness. So if everything holds, the pool B, it's modified pool play, right?
hmm,
So essentially, winners are going to play winners, losers are going to play losers. Um, for pool B at least, I should say, and then
hmm,
pool A is just going to play a round
all
robin and
three.
figure it out for the best. Cal Poly walks out of pool A as the one seed. Northridge walks out as the two seed, and that would leave UC Davis as the three seed for me.
Hmm.
Coming out of that, that puts Davis theoretically versus
Hawaii.
Hawaii, right? In the second, I think we're going to give that to Hawaii. And then it gives Northridge is going to take on Bakersfield,
Yeah,
who they just 5-0'd last weekend. I give that one to Northridge. And then we'll go, what is that? Cal Poly versus the
Bakersfield.
winner of the versus the winner of the oh gosh. Where's my head?
That
The
would have been
Hawaii.
Northridge and Bakersfield for that one,
No, no,
right?
it's Pool A first seed versus match eight winner. Pool A
This is
first seed is going to be Cal
crazy.
Poly, right? And then the
Yeah,
winner
I'm
of
seeing
that
it.
that Pool B second seed is going to be Hawaii most likely, and the
Hmm.
three seed.
Okay.
We're going to give it to Hawaii over Davis.
Yep.
So Hawaii versus Cal Poly being your first kind of big winners bracket match. Cal Poly's handled them the last couple of times they've played. Give it to Poly. That puts us at Long Beach taking on the Pool B one seed, which is or the match nine winner, I should say, which is the winner of Northridge versus Bakersfield.
Bakersfield. Yep.
And theoretically, Sacramento State's been eliminated, right? Because the fourth seed doesn't get to keep moving on. Sorry, buddy. But anyway, so that's kind of where you shake out. You wind up seeing a championship match, which has no true double elim, right? So we're playing a single elim bracket
Yeah.
immediately. I think that's a new thing for the Big West. Traditionally, they've been a true double elim, which has created some insane matches, right? Where Long Beach will play Cal Poly in the finals, and whoever was the loser bracket side will win the first, and the teams will have to turn around and play
And
the whole
play
match
again.
over again. That to me, that one is always the most insane format. So it's nice that they're cutting down the number of matches. I think you and I are both giving it to Cal Poly,
Yeah.
but like we mentioned with the MPSF bracket, Hawaii has everything to gain and everything to lose in this tournament. They have to win. They're 12 and 19. They're not going to qualify for at large because even if they somehow pull off the maximum number of matches in this tournament, they're still not going to get
Mm-hmm.
the seven wins without the loss that they need in order to hit the 500 average or
Yeah.
500 win percentage, which you need to qualify. So they're win or go home right now. Right? They're battling for their lives.
I think you can almost say similar things about Long Beach, about creating a better seed too. So
They need
you
to
got
win.
three teams that are definitely capable of doing this.
Yeah.
Bakersfield has had an incredible season, so I'm sure they're coming in with a little bit more fire to show what they're worth. This is going to be just a brutal punches thrown all the time fight.
Yeah. I do give it to Cal Poly. I think
Yeah.
Cal Poly walks out. I actually think they're going to win the final 3-1. I think it's going to
Okay.
be against Long Beach. I think Long Beach is probably, I'm going to say win the threes, but
Okay.
they might win the fours. This will be the fours for Cal Poly to me are like the hottest and coldest team in their lineup. They could be like the lights out knockout. They could also be not lights out knockout. And so
Do you
I'm
know
going to
if
give
it's
that
at
to Long
five
Beach.
across?
I believe it's five across. That's why they're playing down at the Ocean Park in
Okay.
Santa Monica.
And are they doing
Um,
the staggered start with the fours and fives?
I'm not totally sure, but I don't believe so.
Okay.
The way I understood it is they're going true five across. And so anyway, it'll be a fun match. That doesn't appear to have any streaming. The Big West website has streamed it in the past, so keep your eyes peeled.
They
If you get to
do.
Big West Tournament Day on Thursday, don't be afraid to click on there. But the Big West website does have live stats,
Hmm.
so you'll be able to at least keep up with the scores. Moving on, we got Conference USA, right? Everybody's favorite bloodbath, as we're
This is
calling
a
it right
big
now.
one.
Yeah, our one seed, Florida Atlantic, is had a good season, but has definitely slipped up a little bit, including losing to Tulane this past weekend. Tulane is the two seed. They play Tarleton first. FIU, a familiar Conference USA team, is playing Missouri State as the three seed versus the six. And then the most dangerous four seed probably out there is
Hmm.
UAB. And they're playing UTEP, one of the most dangerous five seeds probably out there. And then 8 and 9, you got Sam Houston and Jacksonville State. Sam Houston in her first year, Jack State has not in the past cared very much about their beach volleyball program, and I would anticipate that is continuing. And so I give Sam Houston the slight edge. They're going to get their first CUSA tournament win, and they are going to quickly proceed to the losers bracket after they lose to FAU. I got Tulane beating Tarleton, FIU beating Missouri State. I'm going to give UAB the edge, but I think UTEP's going to make a nice run in the losers bracket.
That's where we'll switch because I'm gonna take the Fu Master in this first round.
Okay. All right. Give him the Fu Master. Give him the Fu Master. But in the losers bracket, right, you'll have that Sam Houston Jack State loser probably playing Tarleton. I'm gonna give it to Tarleton, but I couldn't feel very confident in that either way. Tarleton's at least had a program for a little while, have a dedicated some time to it. Sam Houston, I think, still using crossover players. So
Yeah.
either way, it's not the end of the world. That the match winner between Tarleton and theoretically Sam Houston is going to wind up playing Missouri State in the next round. Who knows? Maybe you get a little hot. You take a dub, go in there, and then that would wind up being the loser of a winner's bracket. The long and the short of it is, I got FAU making it through that first round against Sam Houston. I got
Yep.
FAU beating UAB in that second round. I don't know if you have UTEP.
Yep. I got FAU
Okay,
beating
you
UTEP.
got FAU. Okay. FIU Tulane. I'm giving the edge to Tulane. Tulane seems to be getting hotter. FIU is a little bit on a downswing. Then we get what we always wanted. Tulane versus FAU in the winners bracket semifinals. Man, I'll tell you what though, five across is going to be interesting because FAU's ones and twos are lights out right there. I mean, they're two of the best
Yeah.
pairs in the
Yeah.
country. It's almost a no doubter. The question mark comes in their 3-4-5. What kind of feeling goes through a team though? Because right now, I'd imagine they're either starting a duel out 1-1 or 0-2. And if
Hmm.
you start 4-5-6, they might not be get or 1-1 is possibility. I doubt they're starting a lot of them 2-0.
Yeah.
How does it feel though if your ones go out there and just smoke somebody, right? They just go win in two sets. All of a sudden you're up 1-0 in the duel. And then your twos maybe followed up with a big win. Now you're up 2-0 in the duel and you got a 3-4-5 that's fighting in the second set. All of a sudden, right, there's a different feeling around the team. It's not quite the same as like, oh, we have to go reverse sweep this team if we
Hmm.
want to win.
and you will
Um,
feel it through the sidelines. The
yeah,
bench, like when they watch that stuff happen, it gets a little bit more quiet, or it feels a little bit more forced energy.
yeah. So I'm going to give it to FAU in the Tulane match. I'm going to give FAU that run. Now in the losers bracket, right? I think FIU UAB
Hmm.
is going to be really Terry's old team. Is there a little emotion? Does UAB, who's playing hot right now, does UAB come out and do a little surprise? I think so. Give me the Blazers.
This is where
Now the
they got him
Blazers.
last year too.
This is where they got them last year. Now the Blazers will have to win, and FIU would have to win. FIU would have to beat the Missouri State, that kind of group. UAB's got to beat UTEP again. I think that's going to be a tough one to do twice. I do think if it's FIU UTEP, I give it to FIU. But
Hmm.
if it's UAB FIU, I give it to UAB.
Okay.
And I think the emotions of that will play its own way. I do think here's my other big upset here. I think UAB beats Tulane in the
Wow.
losers bracket finals and
The
earns
bounce
themselves
back wasn't going to happen for Tulane then.
bounce back was not going to happen for Tulane. So UAB FAU in the finals. I give FAU the inkling of a lead there. Um, but
Yeah, I don't think that's a terrible prediction because I do believe that UAB is playing some really good ball, and I
yeah,
got to see it firsthand 2 weeks ago, and I think they are playing really well. We watched them play five across, and they're doing it with the best of them.
yeah.
So I think
I think that's a good squad ready to go. And
coming
so
off of a big loss to FAU, I think they have the emotions running in their favor. Emotions are definitely going to play a role in this tournament.
I also think there's something to getting hot, right? If you're Tulane and you're kind of coasting and you're coasting, and then you lose a tight one to FAU, and you have to go play a UAB team that's just
Yeah,
emotionally charged up. I think that becomes a really tough game, right? That becomes a brutal match.
yeah.
Um, so like I said, give me UAB, give me UAB over FIU, and then UAB over Tulane to lose to FAU in the finals, and we see the Burrowing Owls back in the championship where they belong.
Yep, we got the same champion there.
All right, OVC time. The most exciting conference because I feel like it is the least educated conference. Like people have no idea. Like if I listed off OVC teams, right, I could tell you five of them, and you'd be like, they have a beach program. Right. And so I think that's one of the things that makes it super fun. I think the other thing is when you're a program that has a lot of crossover players,
Hmm.
you'll see that team do nothing but get better as the year goes on.
Yep.
Right. You see them pick up beats, you see them start to figure it out. And so that could very much happen here in the OVC. Our boy Darren, right,
Got the
won the
guarantee.
conference. He guarantees it a second round. I'm gonna back the guarantee. I'm gonna back the guarantee after his big win over UT Martin last week.
Same.
Lindenwood had a good time last year in this tournament. I think they
Hmm.
beat Tennessee Tech, earned themselves a chance to lose to Chattanooga. Morehead State taking on EIU. I give me Morehead State. Okay, this is in Chattanooga. Morehead versus UT Martin will be interesting. I do think Sarah's got that squad rolling at Morehead a little bit. And so I do think it's going to be a little closer, but UT Martin will just match him with experience a little too much,
Yeah.
giving us the Martin Chattanooga semifinal that we've all been hoping for. Part of me does hope for Darren's sake that they actually lose that semifinal because not only is it hard to beat a good team three times, it's really hard to beat them four times. And I firmly anticipate that match to continue into the championship, right? I think whoever, you'll see Moorhead and Lindenwood probably duke it out in that semifinal, loser bracket final. Right now, I would have Chattanooga versus a Moorhead or a Lindenwood. I still give Chattanooga that win.
Yep.
And then they face Martin again for the finals. But we're going to give Darren Van Horn his guarantee, and we're going to lock in the Mocs for another trip to Gulf
No
Shores.
matter if he has to do it through the losers bracket or the winners bracket, they're getting it done.
Pick a bracket, he'll do it. Doesn't matter. And on to our final conference, if I'm not mistaken, the
Yep.
CCSA. Wrapping it up, another four-team conference, another conference that is not going to get a bid. However, I do think we're going to see plenty of them in Gulf Shores.
Yeah.
The one seed this year for the first time ever, and their first year in the conference is going to be the University of Texas. The Longhorns are your one seed. They will be taking on four seed South Carolina. Then two seed Florida State plays three seed LSU. We've seen that match about 550 times over the course of the years. Normally it's in the CCSA finals. We'll see how that shakes out. Texas beats South Carolina. I think Florida State beats LSU. Give me Florida State over Texas.
Okay.
but then Texas over LSU in the losers bracket final,
Okay.
um, to rematch Texas versus Florida State for the championship. And I do think Florida State gets it again. Give me Florida State.
Wow.
Give me Florida State. Ah, FLORISTAT.
I'm taking the team from Austin in their first championship. I'm gonna give it to Texas.
Listen, if I know anything about Steino, he's not worried about winning the championship. He wants to win at Gulf Shores. And so
Okay.
if your mind's a little elsewhere, I could see you doing some experiment and some figuring out how the squad's going to respond. I do think it'll be a great volleyball matchup. I
Yeah.
think the CCSA is going to be a hoot. You'll see it all on VBTV if you want to tune in. It's being hosted in Baton Rouge at the LSU Beach Volleyball Complex, Death Volley, as they like to call it. It'll be a Friday, Saturday tournament. So most of the volleyball happening on Friday, just the winners or losers bracket finals happening on Saturday, as well as the championship match.
That's awesome. Colin, you
Boom.
definitely bring the knowledge.
That's our crazy fast run through. At large bids, anything change for you? Any big
No,
swings?
not from last weekend to this weekend. I think these tournaments we finally get away from the battle of the Titans every weekend, and they get to see some other teams in these tournaments where things are on the line now. And
Yeah,
I think you're going to see some different teams step up to the occasion, GCU being one of those. And then you'll see some teams kind of falter, and that could show some weaknesses for that Gulf Shores meeting of the Clash of the Titans times 10 now.
yeah, yeah. I do think it'll be interesting to keep an eye on the Big West. I know we talked about it a little bit, but and you mentioned it briefly. If Long Beach loses to Hawaii, that could open up a at-large position for somebody, right? That gives Grand Canyon a window in. I think it gives Arizona State a window in. Now, Arizona State's probably got the toughest ask
Hmm.
because they do have to probably beat TCU to like give themselves a spot there,
Yeah.
and they can't lose to an Arizona or a Utah if they want to have any dwindling hope of it. Same thing with Long Beach, right? I think they're on the inside looking out, but a
Hmm.
loss to Hawaii probably puts that in jeopardy and makes it a really gambly experience. So look for that little bit of a shakeup. I think FIU is probably out without winning the conference tournament. I'm not sure there's enough strength in their conference right now to give them that opportunity. A win over FAU is probably good, but I'm not sure it's enough to steal a spot in there. Things along those lines. North Florida, same deal, right? I'm not sure a big anything other than an ASUN championship probably gets them in. Same thing
Yeah.
for Stetson.
It's tough for
Uh,
Stetson and UNF that they're both going to be battling for these at-large bids, and they might just not have enough
yeah,
because the
and
Govs are
Florida
coming
Gulf.
into
Don't forget
town.
them. They're gonna be bummed out too.
Yeah, yeah. We get Stetson first round, so we'll show them early, and then they'll have to battle back through that losers bracket, I guess.
Hey, of all the teams that knows what it's like to lose as the 1 seed versus an 8 seed, right? I think Stetson is all too familiar
Yep,
from that famous victory over Southern Cal at the national championship a
yep.
few years back.
It's time for a
So
little
go
payback.
taste of their own medicine, buddy. Taste
Yep.
their own medicine. It'll be fun. Let me just do a quick recap on all of the conferences and
Hmm.
where you can watch them. Our first up, starting tomorrow is the Southland Conference. We got live stats and ESPN Plus starting on Thursday. The MPSF tournament on the Big Ten Network, like Michael talked about, that's also starting tomorrow. Starting on Thursday, we got CUSA. However, Friday and Saturday are the only 2 days that are on ESPN Plus for them. The Sun Belt tournament starting on Thursday. All matches will be on ESPN Plus, so you can tune into that. The Big 12, it says that they're going to have something streaming. I assume the Big 12 network will include that, but I'm not totally sure exactly what that looks like. I know ESPN Plus has a deal with Big 12, so keep an eye out for that on the Big 12 network. WCC network usually does some form of streaming on the website,
Hmm.
but I didn't see anything this go around.
But they will have
We
the
got
live stats there on that website
They will have the live stats. The ASUN tournament's going to be live on ESPN Plus. Michael, I think you
all
can
weekend.
confirm that
Yep, yep.
all weekend
Thursday,
long. So
Friday,
starting on
Saturday.
Thursday, perfect. You guys are in Huntsville,
Yep, yep.
so you can watch Michael bring home a ring there. CCSA, like we said, is going to be on VBTV, and then the Ohio Valley Conference will be on ESPN Plus. Michael, is there any tournament besides the ASUN that you are most tuned into?
The Sun Belt, baby.
The Sun Belt, the
I
Fun
want to
Belt. All
watch you
right.
get it done again. Bring
I
home that
appreciate that.
trophy.
Yeah, appreciate the goal of bringing home a trophy. I am going to be tuning in most likely to the CUSA tournament and then the MPSF. I
Yeah.
think it's always always big ones to watch. So knowing me, I'll probably watch volleyball as much as I possibly can. I do enjoy watching everybody get an opportunity for this whole thing, but
I have a
I
feeling
do,
you're going to be very, very busy this weekend.
my goal would be to not be busy. Because I don't know if you know this, the perk of the one seed means if you do your job, you only have to win one game a day
Yeah.
for 3 days, and so that sounds
But
nicer.
if we know anything about you, you're gonna get the scouting out. You're gonna get the tape out.
Yeah,
You're
we're
gonna
gonna.
roll through it.
I'm sure I'll have Georgia State or Wilmington or Mercer or Southern Miss or anybody's film playing in my room 24/7 just for readiness. But should be a fun one. I'm excited for MPSF and CUSA. Like I said, I think
Hmm.
those will be good. Oh, that's what I was going to do. I had to give a quick shout out. Alex Jones, coaches up at Beta Bay, former Cal State Northridge Matador setter on the men's side. Great dude. Congratulations to him. He just got engaged. So happy for
Hey,
Jonesy and all that life. Hopefully he will occasionally listen, or at least one of his Beta Bay buddies will point out that we gave him a shout out, and he can text me back every once in a while. Uh, anyway.
congrats, Alex.
Yeah, Michael, appreciate you. Good luck in Huntsville, and if you get bored and you want to drive a few hours south, we'll be down in Foley.
Same to you, man. We will catch you next week.
Peace.